that weird transition period.
Okay, good evening. It's Monday, June 22nd, Susan Tully Lively Boardroom, the 1887 building. I'd like to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you do a roll call.
Yes, Mr. Andre.
Here.
Mayor Gordon.
Here.
Mrs. Ingersoll.
Here.
Mrs. Costa.
Here.
Mrs. Reckless.
Here.
Mr. Scarrow. Excused. Mrs. Vaughn.
Here.
Yep. Got a little out of order there, sorry about that. Okay, so we do have a quorum. I did not receive any community participation. I'd like to start with the approval of the school board minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the June 8th, 2026 regular session school board meeting as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve, for the approval of the minutes. The June 8th, 2026 regular session school board meeting as presented. All in favor?
Aye. Abstain.
Thank you. Okay, motion passes. Moving on, general and other fund bills.
This is gonna be a record of how early like we've had in the spot.
That's what threw me.
Not even warmed up yet.
Numbering here is
Summer agendas are in the past.
The business office is submitting for approval the following U.S. Bank check numbers. 155763 to 155766. BMO check numbers 162554 to 162623. Wire number 634 and ACH numbers 916 to 937, and combined amount of $305,338.35. Any questions?
Just about the WASB, I think.
No, yeah,
Yeah, it's not on the agenda for.
Right, it was on the probable cause.
right. So invoices come in and
Yeah.
people try to pay them, and then goes through multiple spots. So then I go, oh, we're not paying this, and then the whole thing comes and sits on my desk until y'all talk about it and we decide whether we're gonna pay it or not, or wait. Oh, so
Okay.
that's
Yeah, because there's,
It's the Wisconsin Association of Schools.
yeah.
right,
So there was some discussion earlier in regards to whether to continue with being members of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards and so forth. And, we could do a more in-depth presentation on that. Joey utilizes them a lot with the government staying up on the legal notices, the legal notifications. If you're not a member of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, you're not that you're not even invited, you can't attend the conferences,
Correct.
you can't attend the sessions, any of that professional development, any of that, you're board non grata, you're out. So from a cost value analysis, I mean, those dues, the fees are there. We do utilize them for some of the, they have a legal call service, which is very generic. You can have them represent you. We don't, but you can get some legal advice and so forth at no cost. Which
how
is
much
quite
do we
good.
use their legal services?
Not
Not very
4 or
often.
5 times a year, right?
And do we get some kind of a discount because we
We have a discount for the conferences and so forth.
for the conferences, but like on the legal side?
Oh, we don't utilize them to represent us. I don't
Okay.
know if there's a discount rate if we were to, instead of, locally we use Ted Johnson. And then for our more of the heavier legal type pieces, what's the name of the firm we use? Yeah.
I've got our finance one.
Somebody, yeah.
Orban
Orban Clark, or somebody is bond and
Right.
that type of issue.
Yeah.
Ron Stadler's through the insurance company.
Right.
He's not with, he's with his own Stadler and Stacks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So on the legal side, when we've used them, that's no cost to us to
Right.
have questions answered. And
They're
things
more
like that.
general policy related type questions, things like that.
Okay.
But if it's anything that could go to litigation, our case, we're not.
Right, we
Calling
work
them
with
on
our
Right.
specific things and such.
What's the timeline on paying this bill?
Yeah.
Oh, we have, like, they can wait. Okay.
By the January conference. Like our Weatherlinks September. That's when I usually pay the WASDA fee, is when they cut me out from the notifications. So I'm like, all right.
I would like to see it put on the agenda for whatever.
Discussion.
A separate discussion.
Unbelievable was just really good at what they were doing.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm gonna
Timmy,
take this. But it showed up in the paperwork, and that's why.
that's fine, I was just asking why it got pulled, but.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up, because I meant to.
Yeah, no, but.
Yeah, it seems that that'd definitely be a good discussion for, put on the agenda too, because I've seen some other districts pointing out it.
Yes.
I'd like to see if it's relevant for us, that
Mhm.
longer discussion would be good.
Yep.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve general and other fund bills of June 22nd, 2026. US Bank check numbers 155-763 to 155-766. FEMA check numbers 162-554 to 162-623. Wire number 634 and ACH numbers 916 to 937. Combined amount of $305,338.35 as presented.
Second,
Second.
been moved and seconded to approve the general and other fund bills of June 22nd, 2026. US Bank check numbers 155-763 to 155-766. BMO check numbers 162-554 to 162-623. Wire number 634 and ACH numbers 916 to 937. And the combined amount $305,338.35 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next up is the report and discussion items. Director's report by Justin.
Hey everybody, first time I get to sit in front of all of you, and I have the privilege of sharing our education for employment plan update. So yearly, we have to review our Education for Employment Act. What that is basically saying, it's an administrative rule saying that all public school districts have to offer an education for employment plan for all students in grades 6 through 12. Happy to share that Elkhorn offers that to K through 12. So we do have a very comprehensive program. I guess at the end of this, then, as you approve it, then we post it to our website and we are in compliance with the state for that. So if we take a look, we did make a few adjustments in our plan, and it mainly is for our elementary students. So we're expanding our offerings a little bit younger. So we have always brought up the 5th graders to the high school to visit and tour the CT spaces to see all of the different pathways that we have. We've done a career day, we've done a career fair at the high school. And at the middle school, what we're looking at doing now is bringing that down to the elementary, where we can host a career fair. Sometimes schools will call these high interest days, really just to expose students to what careers are. Oftentimes you talk to, let's say, a 2nd grader and they know what a firefighter is. They may think a firefighter is a superhero. They don't realize that that's actually a career. So really career exposure to those kids. Oftentimes at that age, we rely heavily on the parents. I don't know if any of you were able to see that great event. We had the Touch a Truck in Elkhorn not long ago. Think of that, but with all careers. So that's kind of what something we want to bring in this year. And I think what our plan is right now, this is, again, new in its early stages, but hosting that at one elementary school, bringing the other 2 over and potentially rotating that around each year. So if you were to take a look through, that's mainly the addition, and as well as bringing our Zello, our academic and career planning, like career interest profilers. to the 5th grade as well. So more exposure at that 5th grade level. Do any of you have any questions? Great. Well, we're going to continue to offer pathways that relate to the careers not only in our region, but that is trending nationwide, to make sure that our students are as prepared as possible for when they walk across that stage.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
The shortest director's report.
I was competing with Sarah. She was either.
Gee, I challenge you.
I think that's when he was competing with Sarah.
Well, without further ado, real quick, I do want to mention the education for employment. I want to give kudos to our school counselor team, our CTE director, and Dustin Lehman, our all of those positions working together. They've been a lead on this for over a decade, since ACP came into place. The school counselors jumped on that. They're one of the pilot programs, and pet peeve of mine, or it baffles me sometimes when I'm on social media, I'll see people say, "Oh, I wish they'd bring CTE back," or "What are you talking about?" Yeah, and then usually it's not people from Elkhorn, but I think I would encourage people to share the great things that are going on, because I think there's a lack of awareness on how in depth that is.
I think the reason people get that perception is because things are labeled differently now than they were back then. You know, like we don't have home ec. You know, we don't have shop class. It's way bigger than that now, and it's called different things. So I think sometimes there's just a misunderstanding of what it actually is. Yeah.
There could be, and that's why I think we just need to be champions of that, help them understand, because it's pretty impressive what they have, what's important, what the kids are doing, and I see the kids get really excited when they start doing the Zello work and their interest assessment and start exploring those careers and those things.
So to piggyback off what Jason said, Elkhorn was a pilot district for this initiative in 2017. So coming from my previous district, I leaned heavily on the work that Elkhorn staff did to try to build the process and the model that I utilized in my former district. And when you look through that, you can see that column where all the staff were involved with that.
Yeah.
It really truly is a group effort from the teachers, the counselors, the directors, and all the school personnel. This is a collective unit, which I think really makes it so great and as successful as it has been at Elkhorn. So kudos to all of the staff that put a lot of time into this. And like Sarah has talked about, it really is starting to leak over as we're getting into the classrooms. You start seeing teachers connecting the dots with connecting careers to different things that they're teaching in just core content areas. It's really, really cool to see. So
Thank you.
Time back in.
I added.
We have some community members that go into our schools. I know like Dr. Rebecca Grieving, she comes in every year and works with first grade. And I don't know if she's branched out, but she started doing that years ago and comes back. And through the AVID program too, we had brought in lots of different parents and things. Like we had a pilot come in once and talk about just all of the things that he does. So I think like quite a few people are willing from our community to come in and really talk to kids about, what different professions look like.
Yeah.
But they love it. Yeah.
Cool. Love it. All right.
All right.
Don't be nervous.
Moving on.
Next slide, please. All right, hi everybody, I'm Amy G. Sarah Bosch will be joining in this presentation, and we're hoping to address just some questions that may be coming up about our students getting meaningful opportunities for movement that support learning and their wellness. So tonight we're going to very briefly touch upon obviously why movement matters, stemming kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. We'll touch upon what do our PE programs look like, those daily recess opportunities. What about movement beyond PE?
What do the total combined opportunities look like? And then we'll have a wrap-up discussion at both the elementary level and the middle school level. So we're gonna break this down into two lenses. So, if we first look through the elementary lens, and the middle school, we know that movement is very important for our students. There's obviously the physical benefits, it's important for brain development, academic benefits, because we all have a limited attention span, and the movement helps us recoup our energy, our ability to stay on task, and there we get back into our learning. Social emotional benefits as well. Now, what we may not know is what do those opportunities look like at each of our buildings? So we're going to touch lightly upon, yes, we have PE and recess time. We also offer different brain break. What might that look like? What are some of the movement videos that we presently use with our students? What does that active out of your seat learning time look like? And finally, what do daily transitions add to just a time for students to be out of the classroom, moving around, and then coming back in? All right, so at the elementary level, very typical to what you see in schools across southeastern Wisconsin, we meet for Phy Ed for 2 30-minute sessions a week, giving us 60 minutes of PE. Recess, typically there is a 15-minute recess and a 20-minute recess. We are outside unless it is below 0 wind chill or raining, storming. And then we do have some type of movement that we try to incorporate in the classroom. If the gym is not used at that time, we try to get some students in the gym as well during that indoor recess. So all together, that's where we get our 235 minutes of scheduled activity for those students. Knowing that the board was very interested in this topic, we did a quick survey. 36 of our elementary teachers, that's mainly our kindergarten through 5th grade staff, responded, and I said, in a typical day, not including recess or PE time, how often are you providing a 5 to 10 minute structured movement break? Okay, like a brain break video, things like that. So this right now is not something that's quote mandated at our level. It was just a cursory glance, like let's see. I know I can walk by classrooms. I see that happening from time to time, but what does that look like? 50% of our teachers like definitely as needed. When student, you can tell when a group is getting restless, let's get up, let's get moving. 20% of our teachers had that planned at least once a day. Some were doing 2 to 3 times a day, depending again on needs of students. And I had a small percentage at 14% that had checked not at all. Typically that not at all was more at our 4th or 5th grade level, where we've got some longer chunks of classes, but then they're rotating between classrooms also. After about a 60-minute period. So what does a typical movement break look like? In the event to save time, we are not going to get up and do one of these, but I did attach them in case you wanted to just get an idea. I don't know, Jason, if you want to click the wiggle dance, that's kind of everybody's favorite from what the teachers have said. We're going to do 10 seconds. Okay. This is like a little bit more for our older kids.
This one?
Yep. You can see more of our 13th graders enjoying something like this.
So
All right.
kind of like a poor man's version of Dance Dance Revolution.
This year we even had at Westside, and Cindy can comment more on that. We had the mystery unicorn dance where a staff member had the full head to toe unicorn outfit on. I'm sure just different classrooms were all been dancing with the unicorn, and then there was the unveiling, and they had to guess which staff member it was, and that was the mystery. So they're even making their own productions now. Okay. Out of seat learning. There is a lot of this, particularly I would say the K2 level. I would say the maximum amount of time is 15 minutes, or 10 typically. If not, if you're moving over there, 15 minutes on a set subject, be that direct instruction, be that even a small group rotation, and they're up and moving again. So those are kind of naturally happening within those lessons. We also have walk and talk sessions. Teachers commented that they may have them up and like moving between desks and, okay, find a new partner and now share this. So, you know, we're again, just trying to stimulate movement, break the monotony of long sessions of instruction. Sometimes teachers may ask like, oh, would you rather this or that? Kids are out moving, we'll debate, back we go. There's so many things we do to build that in. I did want to highlight that this came from Mrs. Woyak, one of our first grade teachers, just to give you an idea of how we even work phonics into this. And I got to listen very carefully, but they're going through the digraphs like CH, SH, WH at the beginning with different motions to really help those kids understand all those different phonics sounds and what they. It goes on for 4 minutes, so we're gonna. You can tell that it's a very physical activity. It's how we embed some of those sounds and letter combinations as we go. All right, in addition to those out-of-seat things, routine transitions, classroom management, physically moving between instructional tasks, rotating students through those learning stations, changing seating locations, all of those things that happen. And then finally, simple physical resets. Those might be bathroom breaks, extra recesses are incorporated. At times, student-led exercises like a 30-second dance party, slow motion movement with some different stretching, things like that. And then, of course, we're transitioning to and from specials. We're on the move for recess, we're on the move for lunch, busy routine throughout the day. And that's just kind of a snapshot of, if we put all of that together, those are those opportunities for movement for our students. All right, so some thoughts moving forward. How do we build on these opportunities to perhaps provide more opportunities consistent? As I looked at that survey, I still have, 14% of teachers that, we haven't necessarily structured that in. How do we go about ensuring that we do have a little more movement? One of the things that will be new and a new opportunity next year is as we have shared staff in the area of PE, we may have some time that the gyms are open now because classes won't be happening now. So can teachers take a movement break within the gym at that time? We often advertise that during indoor recess, because recess sometimes falls when we don't have specials in there and it's a quick in and out, but is this something that could be utilized? Oh yeah, Tuesday, I'm going to take advantage of that every Tuesday when my gym teacher is perhaps at another building in the afternoon, have a little sign-up sheet that would allow teachers to just go in and do some more little structured activities there to kind of increase that physical activity. During our Obeas lesson block, although at times we're using those Obeas anti-bullying lessons that we have now personalized for Elkhorn, there's often time in there that we do some type of a movement break, some type of an activity, icebreaker, things to just get that class community built. We could look at, hey, every time you have Obeas, that 30 minutes of the week, please have some physical activity. We can brainstorm some examples of what that might be, but that's going to be important. And if it happens to fit that there's no one in the gym at that time, wow, that would be great. Also, it was not an expectation that everyone have that movement break. Do we say, hey, you do need to build that in? Here's a list. Our teachers sent me lots of links as far as different tools that they use. And maybe that's the direction that we go, just to ensure that these kids are getting some, at our level, more of the wiggles out, being able to focus their attention. So input from the board, is that something you would like us to see as far as movement goes?
Generally speaking, I think the more movement, the better. But can I ask you a question too? Because one of the biggest questions coming from the community is, I think it was slide 3.
Mhm.
You have all of our time on there.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's our time that we do, and that's more than what DPI requires, right?
For physical education.
Yeah,
DPI, I believe, doesn't have strong regulations in regards
Okay.
to recess.
right.
And anytime we're over 30 minutes, we have to deduct that from our instructional time, what we record. So they really frown on additional recesses per se, you know what I'm saying, is like, because they're not saying encouraging that at all. We are most likely below the recommended amount for PE, but we probably could go across the board in ELA, math, science, social.
Right.
We could just extend that out, that if we added up all those minutes, it would be a 10-hour day for our students. You know, every department has their recommendation,
Right.
but there aren't the minutes in the week to meet all of that.
Right.
I would say we are sitting typically where most elementaries do sit, and that is a 60-minute time block a week, with 2 30-minute sessions.
Off the top of my head, I believe, I would have to go back and look at the DE standards, but like that department developed their standards and recommended time in isolation from the world language, from the art, from those groups. And those were done, when I spoke to DPI over 30 years ago, it's something that they are aware of, that they're gonna revisit, because like Amy said, you add
Right.
what art says, what music says, what PE says, what ELA says, what math says. We'd have a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
I'm being a little
Yeah,
facetious, but.
We would, so we do have to pick and choose, and I think that's why we have to be really strategic in how we embed this movement and this time. You know, while I'd like to say many of our students have those opportunities after school, and quite a few do, they're still young. That may, you know, be very dependent on the parent's schedule, what they're enrolling them in, rec department and things like that, although I know come basketball season, those gyms are used, you know, people are lined up to get in.
Right, and it does need to be organized movement like that, you know, it's just a detour time.
That may be something for us to work on, the legislators, but then our DPI to, you know,
Right.
if movement is so critical and important, and that free play is
Right.
important as well, perhaps don't deduct from the instructional time when 30 minutes is exceeded.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that, you know, simple changing that to 45 minutes or
Well, I'm
whatever.
just thinking back when I was a kid, you know, like I can guarantee you I had PE more than twice a week. You know, it was
Yeah.
at least 3, maybe it was every day. I honestly don't remember. 'Cause long
I
time.
don't remember. I moved,
But,
I moved to Ohio.
Fitness awards, remember those? Those are a
Absolutely.
big deal.
Yeah.
The what?
The presidential fitness
I
award.
do remember doing that.
Sit and reach was the hardest.
What I don't, you know, I don't think that I had a lesser education when I was a kid, you know, based on the fact that I was doing physical activity more often than kids are today. I still had a great education. I'm just wondering, are we sacrificing kids' need to move? There's obviously we have an obesity problem in this country. You know, there's just all kinds of reasons why I think there's benefits to having kids moving more, especially at that young age.
Especially at the younger age, I can see it being decreased, even at the elementary school level, I can see it decreasing
Yes,
as you
yes,
grow up in the grades.
right.
But, I don't know if this is something that you're gonna discuss yet, what is the general schedule for a kindergarten, first grade, second graders? How much time are they spending in any one subject that they're only breaking out 30 minutes twice a week to be able to go to gym?
And for that
So-
30 minutes, they're not changing into gym uniforms, correct?
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah,
That means they got about
I'm
6
like,
minutes to do it.
exactly. That'd be on the gracious side.
Their shoes are tied.
No, I just worked on schedules, and I would say we break apart reading. I mean, there's all different kinds of chunks of that, whether it's like phonics and, you have like your interactive read aloud, where it's just like, we try to do half-hour chunks at the most. And I think that's one change from when we were kids, because I was thinking about that too, as we were thinking about this and where we could try to structure more, like, offering, kind of a list of things and saying brain breaks are expected. They're not just something that is. But I think that we didn't do as much of that either, though. Like, I don't recall as many of the little breaks as we see the group, diminishing in their capacity.
And I do think attention spans are changing.
I think so too, right?
We have screens.
We have screens that are very automatic, right? Whereas before we were device or something, right? So I think that we are more cognizant of looking at the group and allowing the practitioner to say, hey, like, I need to pivot here for a minute. And I didn't do as many of those that she pulled up because they sometimes get kids a little crazy and that's hard to reel them back in. But even just like yoga, like they love doing yoga for kids, and we would do different poses and it would stretch them out and get them moving, but it wouldn't always be, every day, like teacher style. But I think we offer more throughout the day at least.
Yeah.
And I think even asking teachers to be a little more aware of like maybe the bench sitters at recess time, because you do have a few kids that just choose not to be active, and trying to get them in organized play. Like I know last year we just put in a kickball area and purchased a fence with some of our funds from actually the Elkhorn grant that we kind of proposed to, but that was a big hit, and the kids are like up and moving often, but you can't always.
The other thing we try to vary too is if specials are in the morning for a nice chunk of a break, then your recess is in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then there's the middle of the day break. So there's 3 major breaks within the day. And even, when you say, oh, I have library media today. I mean, we've seen the videos of they're on the floor, they're calling, they're setting up their robots, they're programming this, that. It's not just a sit and read for that amount of time. Music, very much movement is happening.
Well, I love the idea that with the video that you showed where the teacher was incorporating learning with movement. I think that's fantastic because it actually makes the connection much stronger for the kids.
Exactly.
I mean, you think about, how you memorize songs so easily,
Oh, we did that all the time. And I think there's 52 different little.
And then you add motion in with that too. I mean, that idea, incorporating movement.
I think we're all on that same page of making sure that our instructional blocks are.
And empowering the teachers.
Exactly, and
utilize.
And hopefully DPI's ears are not listening, but I will say like this recess time looks very different in September and October than it does come November. Simply because those attention spans aren't there. They're probably at that K1 level. There's some additional recess time there because the stamina isn't there. So we do need to take those breaks and then.
We have lots of reward systems in place too, where teachers often go towards extra recess as a goal because kids love it. So, if you can, so many pause per week, you're for sure going out extra on Friday or what have you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, okay. All right, we'll take in Sarah here, so thank you.
I would. Keep in mind as well that the K-5 elementary level, I'm not espousing or saying this is the ideal model, but I have a very good memory from child, and I never rotated in elementary. I didn't rotate until 6th grade.
Correct.
When we moved to Ohio, and then I went to a 6th grade center. That's when I had PE and art. And as I look back, and even our K-5 teachers, actually K-8, they're certified to teach all subject areas if they're teaching their own students, including PE, music, art. I probably lacked proper instruction in PE, music, and art in elementary school, but there was never, but I do remember doing the presidential fitness thing, but no PE classes or anything like that. It was just whatever we did would have been integrated in school there.
I'm going to let you drive.
All right, I will.
This is a big truck.
Back one, there you go. All right. Okay, so movement at the middle school level. So this right here is a visual for you of what the physical education classes look like at each grade level. With the 67-minute class period, you'll notice that there is PE one try for each grade level, even if the student is taking band or choir. One of the changes that we did make to the schedule from last year going into this year is that you'll notice I circled the health classes. The health classes were incorporated with the PE classes last year, and so our students were getting 4 weeks less of PE this last year than what they will get next year. So the health classes will be in 7th grade just during that year. So that's going to help increase the amount of time that our students will be able to be in PE class by 4 weeks, basically.
Okay.
So from a seat time perspective, they're receiving a half credit of PE per year.
Mhm.
If it was on a high school.
What's the
What's the A?
what's A?
Allied art.
Okay.
Yep. So that's their electives. Yep. Mhm. No, we don't need all of it. Also with our schedule enhancements this year, this is what the overall schedule will look like. What you'll notice that Ms. Blair added into the schedule this year are an opportunity for study hall and WIN. And so what we're gonna be able to do now is we're gonna be able to give students more time for movement during that WIN time. So we're gonna rotate students into the gym because if you notice, there's no classes running during that time. So that means the gym is wide open. So the students can rotate through when being able to get that movement in gym class, which is going to be great for them. They're going to fight over that. So we're hoping that that helps them get their homework done. As an incentive. Also, we want to make sure at the middle school level that we're incorporating movement into our instructional practices, just like they do at the elementary school, but we're not doing this at the middle school, obviously. So when we went from 45-minute class periods to 73-minute class periods last year and now 67 for this coming school year, we talked a lot about what the latest neuroscience research tells us about sustained attention, which is what you use when you're learning. And what the neuroscience research tells us is that our sustained attention is about 2 to 3 minutes per year of age. Now, obviously, there's limitations on that, right? You know, you're like 70 and you multiply that by 2 or 3, you're like, I don't know if my sustained attention is that long. But anyway, the point is that like if you have a neurotypical brain, if you're really interested in the subject matter, if you don't have any biological needs, like you got enough sleep the night before, you have enough, food in your belly, that sort of thing. That's your top functioning sustained attention. So what we say is we're not all going to be top functioning, right? So we're talking about middle school kids. So that sustained attention is really 10 to 15 minutes for them. So what we ask our teachers, good job. Oh, we got a signal going now. What we ask our teachers is to think about their lesson design in the format of time blocks. And so any of those active learning experiences that you're designing into your lesson, you want to keep them at 10 to 15 minutes and then switch it up. 10 to 15 minutes, switch it up. So these state changes are what we call them. You can click on the link and you can see all the different state changes that teachers pick from to design a lesson. We don't need to go into this. This is just more information that you can do that. But the idea here is that we don't want kids sitting for 73 minutes with direct instruction. Nobody wants that. Right? Exactly. Next slide, please. So when you're designing your lesson, you're designing that lesson in those chime blocks like we were talking about, and then you're creating that movement as you're going in the classroom. So you might be doing a lab in a science class to access prior knowledge, and then you'll have a state change and you have the students go back to your seats and they do direct instruction. And then you have them state change again where they're going to get together with partners and they're going to work on something. And then you decide maybe you're going to have a brain break here because it's been several minutes of that sustained focus attention, even though you're kind of switching it up. So we talked a lot, if you go to the next slide, about what are some different brain break activities that we could do at the middle school level that would engage students. So these are all the different types of brain breaks that teachers might incorporate to get what we're talking about, physical movement, into the classroom. Any guess what's the favorite of teachers to use and students?
Stretching.
No? Coloring. They do like that one. That is a favorite one for kids to do their where they get to select mini course day. Yeah, they love that one.
Social break.
No, podcast. I don't know. Walking break of all
I
things.
wondered about that.
Yeah, so, yeah, they're constantly taking the kids, if it's nice outside, and they walk around the school to get a walking break in. It's the favorite one of the kids to be able to do. They get outside. I mean, think about us, right? When we're sitting in front of the TV, just to be able to get up and go to the bathroom sometimes just resets your brain. So that is the favorite one of most teachers and students. But these are all kinds of things that they can pick from. So the professional development that we did on this really just talked about, we need to incorporate those state changes if we want to increase that sustained attention so that we can get kids to learn, basically. And then last but not least, other movement opportunities at the middle school level is really our co-curricular participation that we have. You guys know, we talk about it all the time, the different opportunities that we have. Our participation rates are amazing. This does represent not just athletics, though, it does represent clubs and CTSOs at the middle school level, but we do know that we have that opportunity for our students in the district as well. For movement. So. I don't have any discussion. Career and technical student organizations.
Thank you.
What questions do you have for me?
Will you be coming back to tell us what you do in high school?
Yes. Would you like me to?
I would, I
Okay.
really would.
Yeah. Yes. I'd be happy.
Because the same thing is happening in high school as it is in the middle school when you deal with a trimester, a bigger block of time, and teachers having to break up that period.
We do the same professional development there if it helps, but I'll go through and show you like all the details. I'd be happy to.
And not tonight.
No, thank you. Into the grade race. You need a movement. Would it be like that?
How long are they in classroom and at the college level?
Well, I know my son's classes, his longest one was an hour and a half this year.
So
Right.
we have to get them used to.
Having to
I mean, we have some kids that will have a class 1 day a week, which is 3 hours long. We'll have some that if you have it 3 days a week, they're typically 45 minutes. 2 days a week are like ours, about 65, 70 minutes.
I don't want you to think that we tell them they have to have a brain break every lesson. Like, that's just one of the time chunks that you could pick depending upon how heavy the material is. You know, like sometimes you get through material that's really heavy and the kids just need that brain break. But you could do it as an instructional activity there and running right through it, but you're just constantly changing it.
And you know, I taught on a 90-minute block, so they were 90 minutes, and you would do the state changes, but there were times where if you were doing hands-on type, project where the kids, they didn't want to be interrupted, they're engaged, they're rolling, so a lot depends on what's the type class, what are they doing. They're not, tech ed classes might have the intro, the attendance, the lesson, presentation, they might be rolling for the next hour just engaged on their work.
Right. Yeah, I guess my comment is, I mean, I'm all for movement and stuff, but if we're constantly changing our kids' brains every 15 minutes, how are they learning to be able to concentrate for longer periods of time to be able to be successful at the college level?
We are talking about middle school kids.
And I'm thinking high school level,
Yeah, well, there's sustained attention as well.
Yeah.
And you are talking about your sustained attention can be so much longer if you're really interested and motivated in that area.
Sure.
It's really hard for it to get everybody to be motivated as positive as civil.
Absolutely.
So these things kind of help to create that engagement, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like thank you both.
Thank you.
I like the direction of this. How is so you mentioned PD a couple of times. Are all the elementary teachers today, is there buy-in from all this movement today? Are they all kind of on the same page? Are there some that maybe they don't want to do yoga or dance revolution or whatever? I mean, can this be hey, we really want to make this a thing here. We want
I think we could, I mean, Jason, if you can click back in, I think we're looking at about 14% of the teachers that were like,
And you
hey,
said that was, there were
It was
36.
fifth grade people, when we clicked into that.
There
it
was 36 that
graders.
responded.
it was anonymous, but they did
Yeah.
state their grade level, so we at least had an idea, and I think Cindy and I could have predicted
So it's
that would be the case. So we're looking at as needed, we could strengthen that too.
Right.
That the expectation is you've got something embedded in your day. It necessarily doesn't exceed 10 minutes, but here's what we're looking at and have more of a choice for it and just explain to them like, hey, this is something that the board has discussed. We really want to make sure these kids at the elementary level are up and moving. You know, during your Obeas lesson, you need to have something structured in. We'd like to see you taking advantage of the open gym time that may be available. And we're going to provide you with a list of suggestions. As you said too, not everyone is going to want to turn their kids loose on some of these videos. And that's totally understandable. It's going to depend on if you have children that noise is going to set them off, then you're going to have to think a little differently that year.
Yeah.
If that student is in your classroom at the time. And so it may become more some stretching or some partner activities or what have you. You know, we also want to utilize the space in the room, but be aware that kids can get pretty floppy and, you know, we don't want anyone injured in this time. It is a smaller space, but we can come up with things. We also have, opportunities at the elementary, like, often if we know specific students just need that little extra break, we have like weighted backpacks or we have certain books that need to be taken to Mrs. Ingersoll's room right away. And so they deliver them and teachers have this kind of code set up so that students who really do need those movement breaks more frequently are constantly delivering very important messages, materials, things like that. We also have like movement trails throughout the room, you know, and if you see them, you might see like, oh, there's a sign here. Like you're supposed to do like, you know, 5 push-ups, and then there could be another station where we will walk kids through the stations just to give them, you know, there's some formality to what they do, but.
I do think it's very seamless. I mean, I taught for an incredible
Yeah.
amount of years, so it seems like that the right thing to say right now. But I think it's just honestly like, I just think that they try to also incorporate it in ways like Project Lead the Way, where they're up and moving and, you know, exploring, finding a partner who has the other half of your puzzle or whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel like I think people are trying to embed it more, which is
Yes.
where like the phonics dance comes out. And I'm hoping, I mean, we're just rolling out HMH, but I'm really hoping that it's more embedded in there too, right? Because I'm thinking that they know that this is what kids need. Like you said, to a point, and I think that grows a little bit less each year, probably, right?
Yeah.
And as it should, right? But I think, I really think that there's, you know, room for growth probably in some educators that maybe are, you know, not reading the room or maybe have a group of kids that don't need as much.
Right.
I feel like over the years, some groups have
Yeah,
needed for the day and others might only need 3.
Right,
You know?
exactly. What's exciting is we will have 7 new to our district educators coming in next year. This we can roll right into their onboarding PD. And I think we have a touch point with all teachers, including our specialists at the beginning of the year, where we frame up, hey, here are some things that we really want to be diligent about and target. We can definitely put that in as one of the expectations that, hey, this is one of the areas we're going to work to increase those minutes of movement.
Okay.
Do just to summarize as well, because I think it's pretty critical. So if, you know, anybody's listening, the middle school did absolutely listen to feedback from parents. They, you know, to summarize it, increased PE time for all students by a minimum 33% over what they had last year by shifting the schedule and creating that, you know, making health standalone, not embedded and taking 33% of that PE time. They created the win time, which will get more access to that free play and or, you know, organized structure, more movement there, integrated in. And they did it by, you know, reducing all the other class periods by 6 minutes each to create that time frame. So, yeah, they did make significant changes to incorporate that feedback. So, right.
Yeah.
Thank
you both. That was good.
And if you didn't hear enough from Sarah and Amy,
I was gonna say back to back.
I'm ready, right?
This counts as your time, by the way.
Look at it. Yeah, you guys are, this is like 2 in 1.
So we're switching gears here, very much so, from movement to something that does require a little attention and focus. But we're gonna talk about iReady. We just wrapped up year 2 of this implementation. It is a nice time for a touch point. We're gonna talk about an overview of the iReady program, provide implementation updates again at the K-5 level, the 6-8 level, and then again, Q&A, any questions you have, things that we need to clarify or consider moving forward. So if you recall, some of you were on this board when we utilized the NWEA MAP assessment. 2 years ago, we switched to the iReady assessment. And I thought it would be important, Sarah and I thought, let's revisit the decision as to why we did that, okay? One of the main reasons is we wanted an assessment that directly connects to instruction. Both of those tools provide excellent growth data. As a parent, as an educator myself, I advocated hard to get MAP because MAP was the only one at this time here in Elkhorn. And that was pivotal information that transformed my teaching. And believe me, I fought that system hard. Who was going to put in? And back then we had to go to a computer lab. We had to fight over time, get them all logged in. How can this be good for my students? I don't understand the purpose of this. By the end of the year, I thought this was something that transformed my teaching more than anything else because I had data on how my students were doing and I could pivot mid-year and make instructional changes that I did not get the depth of this data. And I could see who was growing and who wasn't, which students weren't I reaching at the time. So I was thrilled as a parent when MAP came on the scene, and I would be thrilled as a parent to know that, hey, we have also moved on to a tool that now provides us 2 types of data. One is that growth data, which is very important. Are students improving? Are interventions working? And are teachers accelerating the learning? A lot of the assessments we give, Act 20 is heavily in this camp. These are grade level assessments. It is very unfortunate that a very high achieving student is taken through those assessments time and time and time again when they're at the 90th percentile. A child is not going to get slower at reading orally. Right. And yet you talk about time wasted, it's very difficult to have them keep repeating assessments where they have shown mastery. And yet that is what we're required to do. And I don't know as an educator if they've learned anything. This is an assessment that will tell me, are they growing at their rate? And every child deserves that data. Every parent deserves that data, okay? Then there's also achievement data, which comes to us from iReady, like are students meeting grade level expectations? Who are approaching that grade level, at that grade level, exceeding that grade level? How many students are proficient? And then where are those gaps occurring?
Something that's really unique about both the MAP data and the iReady data is their scores are then aligned to what are called basically their instructional pathways or the skills they're ready to learn, the skills they're ready to be introduced to, and the skills that they need to have reinforced. So most of our other measurements don't give you that level of depth, so they don't help you guide your instruction as a teacher. And so that's what
iReady does.
It does.
iReady and MAP.
Oh, both. So which one are we doing?
We used to use MAP.
Right.
We shifted to iReady. I
Right.
don't want to steal any thunder, she'll explain why.
No, I remember, I know we shifted, but I just didn't know. I wasn't understanding it. It sounded like maybe we were still using MAP in some ways.
No, we are not.
Oh, okay.
We are only using iReady right now.
Okay.
So both had good growth information on students. iReady also gives us a little bit more in that achievement area, clustering students about who's approaching grade level, who's exceeding. Here's where we start to branch off in our why with the iReady usage. That personalized learning pathway, it's an all-encompassing platform. You've got your assessment and your learning all together. And this is really critical. So with MAP, that assessment provided student data. It identified what students are ready to learn next. But then we had to purchase another system for online learning, and teachers needed to go and locate resources on their own for that next step of instruction. So they have what was called a learning continuum, say in math. Here's like these kids are ready for this skill next, these kids are ready, you know, like, here's where we're kind of falling on this band, here are the specific skills. Where am I, so I should go into teachers pay teachers to find lessons, I should look through my own resources, hey, what do you have that supports rounding to the nearest thousand, like, here's what I need to teach.
Yeah.
How do I do that? I needed to backfill that myself. What we really liked about iReady is students move right into an individualized online lesson. So we don't have to take the data from this company, upload it to this system here that may have other backpack lessons that have to be cleaned out by the company. And, you know, sometimes there was a delay in getting the next level of lessons added. The minute the students finish the assessment, their learning pathway is created. Off they go. And then the same happens in January, new pathways are created and off they go. Teachers not only receive the data on their students, grouping examples of who needs what and, you know, who would pair well together, but over here is the platform of lessons that are ready to go. And they're different than the lessons that the students are assigned. You know, it kind of approaches it in different ways. So it's not like, here's the same lesson you're going to get online. It's a more small group, hands-on activity. You might have an activity sheet to go with it, but those lessons are there for the teachers to access. It's not pulling out a credit card and trying to find a resource quickly online. That, again, we don't have oversight on. Most important reason though, our teachers came to us and asked us to look into this system probably 3.5 years ago. Hey, you know, we started to hear rumblings. We're a lot happier with iReady. We like this, it has this. And our teacher said, can we look at something different? And so we did venture, we had a panel of teachers, and then the decision was made to roll into that iReady system.
Ingenuity, and honestly, they really didn't keep it up. So it was, and that was the lesson integration that was most common with MAP, and the district had bought a lifetime license for that. But we did have to pay annually still $5,000 per school, I think.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
All right, so just talking a little bit about how does iReady launch each year? Well, it launches with the adaptive diagnostic, an assessment that students sit down to take. It identifies student strengths, areas for growth in reading and math. Students K-8 complete this activity in September, January, and May. So real quickly, diagnostic assessment 101 here. Thanks, Jason. Basically, this is an adaptive diagnostic, which means it levels for the student. So they know what age you are, they know you're in 2nd grade, you sit down, you start working. As you are showing great proficiency, then it may level up in math, okay. It's looking at geometry, it's looking at algebraic strands, it's looking at all these different areas, and it's finding what do you know and what don't you know. Same as if you have a struggling learner, it's kind of lowering those questions to figure out where's your zone of optimal learning. This is what I like about a test like this. So we find out information about every single student. It's not, can you read this passage? I can tell you 5 kids who can't read that passage. Why am I going to drag them through that passage? And I know 5 kids that is such an easy passage. Why would I make them read this passage? So this is why this test is challenging for all, because you get to a level where I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to know everything. And we talk to our students about, you're not going to be expected to know every question they give you. Right. That's how we figure out what it is you need to know more of. So
it's, yeah, for those high achieving students, it can be a challenge if they haven't done it previously. Our kids, you know, they're introduced to it at an early age, but it will get to a point where they're getting about 50% right and 50% wrong. That's because it's really ratcheting to that. But it's the only assessment we have where a 4th grader who's at an 11th grade reading level will get questions up in that 11th grade reading level.
Gosh, I wish we had that.
To check that number.
right? I know.
And it is such a good opportunity to teach those test taking strategies because they learn that at a very early age.
Yeah.
A lot of them will write A, B, C, D on a dry erase board and they'll learn to eliminate by 2nd grade. Some of them say slash the trash, whatever, but they're like, this would not be a likely answer, neither would this one be in there. It's just great for them to have that kind of embedded all along, right? So to help them out later in life.
How often is that iReady assessment done?
So it's done in September. We wait till we're at least a week or so into the school year. So we've kind of dusted off a few cobwebs, but we want to get that baseline information because then the learning path opens up for them.
Yep.
In January, again, we're back at least 10 days after winter break again, back in the groove, and then we'll take a dipstick there. I have to say, like, as an educator, that is the best information we get all year. Where am I, what am I over teaching? What am I under teaching? Who is moving ahead and on target to reach their growth? Who have I not connected with yet? Who do I need to really pull into more small groups? I didn't realize, like, sometimes their voice must be masked in the larger group. I've got to zero in on these 4 or 5 kids, and then I might look at Cindy and she's got 4 kids, and then how do we group them during our win time to maximize that teaching? So the January data is really important. We hold our district data meetings following that at the elementary level, so then we're regrouping. You'll see we use that for determining our multi-level systems of support. We need more tier 2 support, tier 3 support. It's a very important.
And then do we test again?
Yes, again, in the year.
Okay.
Yep, so then we can see who has reached that target growth, exceeded it. If they didn't, are there other mitigating factors that happen there? We're excited on all growth. We're extremely excited when they not only meet it, but for our lower students, if they're closing the gap and at a year and then some, that's really exciting. So these would be the areas in reading and kind of the grade levels where those parts of the assessment are looked at very carefully.
So you get different scores within each of those breakdowns. So a student could be really high in phonological awareness, but lower in high frequency words. So it helps that teacher know where to go, where when you just have that overall ELA score, you don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, and then the same, these are the 4 strands in the area.
And I have a question about the timing. So it's three times a year, and Jack has done this. What is so this is iReady testing day, right?
Yep.
Are we prepping them for a few days before? What's the total time for testing?
Sure. Jason,
I think we have a slide.
Oh, sorry.
You go ahead. No, that's totally. Why don't we do this? So just to give you an overview of definitely answer that question. So the minute that test is done, then students are sent into their individual learning paths with each of those different strands filled with activities that will target that. And then there's, like in the area of comprehension, there'll be lessons that focus on fiction as well as nonfiction text comprehension. The iReady instruction, this is kind of what that whole platform is. So it's automated for each student. They're automatically assigned those lessons. There'll be a slide that'll talk about this, and I will get to the testing and how do we approach those protocols. When, even at our younger grade, we look at about 30 minutes a week working on reading lessons and about 30 minutes a week on math lessons. A lot of times the math is built into our math rotations. So I might have a small group. This group here might be working on their iReady platform. This group here may be doing some hands-on workplace activities, and we're rotating. Okay, so we're hitting the movement and the individualized learning there. A teacher can monitor, hey, what's happening with those lessons? Are the students succeeding? We have it set that if they're not at, the 80th percentile, they will repeat that lesson because that's not showing proficiency. So the lesson will just come back around again. We have a dashboard that allows us to have eyes on that. And then as a teacher, I may pull from, yes, my Bridges math, but I might know, ooh, I have this group and my iReady says we really need to dig into this. I may pull that lesson from the iReady platform and utilize that one during small group or win time. Our reading minutes typically are embedded in win time. Next year, that's a priority to figure out with HMH, where is that best fit? And that's something that we'll be taking a close look at. This is never sent home as homework. The expectation is not that it's done at home, it's done in the classroom.
And it would be considered enrichment or enhancement to what the kids are doing. It's not their core curriculum.
At the elementary level, it's not. All right. Sarah will talk a little more. She recently attended an iReady conference last week. This is a wonderful snapshot. It just gives you an idea of how widely used iReady is throughout the state. But again, I think it's important to understand what our rationale was. You know, we don't chase necessarily what everyone else is doing, but we had some good internal rationale, teachers advocating for us to take a look at a system that would be a little bit more all-encompassing.
How many school districts are there in Wisconsin?
426, I believe.
Okay, so
I would say though, if you're thinking that maybe the other 57% are doing something different, I think we've found from many schools, even around our area, that we went to learn more about the different ELA programs. I was astonished that so many are just using Act 20 data, which, like she said, that's the one where you're not getting a lot of information, except for maybe that sweet spot of 20% of your kids, because it's going to be just a passage that's expected of all, and not that adaptive test where you can really glean from every student what they need to know. So I would guess, I mean, I have no idea where MAP sits at this point or any other universal programs, but we were just surprised that people were not using them. And it could be just a cost savings, but boy, as a teacher for many years, I couldn't imagine not having, you know, all of that at my fingertips to be able to plan for.
Yeah.
And really with this platform, what it does is it makes it just so that they're kind of planning it for you and with you. You know, it's identified in small groups, not only by your classroom, but by your grade level, versus, you know, that was the trouble with, or not trouble, but like that was, you know, maybe not the strong suit of math, because you had to kind of do that yourself. So I had a lot of hours and just like going through the reports. I mean, it's 100 pages probably, and you'd have to figure out who went where.
Yeah.
So.
I would say it would surprise me if out of the 426 districts, if 247 are using iReady, I'd be shocked if 150, you know, there might only be 30 or 40 districts statewide that aren't using MAP or iReady. It's really, you don't hear of them not using the growth scores. Wisconsin used to be very heavily predominantly MAP.
Yeah.
But that's,
But I mean, 247, that's better than half.
it's more than half of the districts,
All right, so moving to just target more on the elementary, again, in surveying our teachers, so where are we at in 2 years? How would you describe your overall comfort using the iReady testing platform, data and tools? 97% of the elementary staff, and we had 40 responses to this. This extended more to special ed, our teachers, interventionists, things like that. So we're feeling comfortable there, and with 95% of our teachers, that was 2 who was like, no, I don't really use the data. We're like, okay, we'll be looking into, we'll be advising on that.
Okay.
But I mean, 95% of our staff in 2 years is driving with this data. So I'm very pleased to say that for the elementary. All right. We also asked, which reports do you lean into the most? So our teachers are proficient. We've had a number of trainings, bringing in the iReady trainers to show us, okay, those diagnostic reports, great. There's just a variety of different ones. I think getting the teacher toolbox for small group lessons, getting that increased would be great, because that is one of the benefits. We have teachers who are very fluid there. I think we have more growth that we could utilize there, but it's nice that we have teachers leaning into that toolbox, and we're doing less of randomly selecting materials we find online. So I'm very pleased to see that. And that's an area of growth for us next year. Okay, so how do we utilize the information? And then we'll get into more on the testing. When that information comes in, we talk one-to-one with our students. We have different conferences throughout the years. We do our goal setting with them. Some classes track like how many lessons we're finishing, and they're coloring a big thing, and then there's a celebration. So we try to make that a very positive experience. And of course, that data is shared with parents at conferences. The January data is mailed home at February with report cards, so they get that, and they also get a printout at the end of the year. So they're informed throughout the year. We use that information to guide intervention, enrichment decisions regarding our tier 2 or tier 3 students or advanced learners. And we track annual growth for all students. At a moment's notice, we can check how our students with a 504 succeeding, how are our EL students succeeding. With another platform we use called NextPath, all of this information is synthesized, and it's a few clicks, and we can look directly into those windows. teachers. Data is definitely used to identify small groups, provide those standards-based lessons, and assist with our instructional planning. District level, yeah, we use it to monitor the success of our curriculum. Professional development planning is used around that, and this data drives our SIP planning for each year as well.
I would say it helps us with personnel decisions too, not in the sense that we've never recommended anyone not continue employment because they have poor growth scores.
Yeah.
But we definitely have an awareness of it. We try to pair teams and we try to push in for professional development when we're seeing a teacher that if they only had 30% of their students or more hit their growth target, then that, this is the measure that enables us to see how did we do on that growth for that year. And so it allows us to intervene, to get the supports to
Because if
help teachers become more effective.
growth isn't happening just at the reading level, then they're probably
You can't
struggling.
get that from the state assessment
Exactly.
because they're coming, you can't get that from the state assessment.
Correct.
You just
From one year to the next year, it's a different, you don't know what were those factors.
and looking over, the district, the idea of the percentage of students meeting or exceeding is very commonly established, whether that was math or not. All of this understanding rolled into this. The elementary sits with all three of them sitting right around 70% of our students meet or exceed their growth in both math and reading. National average sits more at 50%.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited when a new teacher coming in hits 50%. We're like, great, you're on your way. But that bar is high. So we need to get you out observing more teachers, talking about how are you using the data, how are you using your small group time, things like that.
Yeah.
So going over to what Mr. Andre had asked. Each year we have like an onboarding video that we'll share with our students that kind of walks them through. They're linked there. There's nothing that we necessarily have to watch, but it shows them how they're going to log in, what's going to happen during the assessment activity, where they click, things like that. They are using headphones at this time. We often have dry erase boards out so that they can, as Cindy said, sometimes they literally have A, B, C, D written and then they erase the ones they don't, oh, it's going to be A. They love going through this process. So it can take some time. Of course, we found only the happiest, most engaged children to photo for this opportunity. But I mean, this kid is so happy to be taking their higher ed assessment. You could be their poster child. But you can see the dry erase boards are out. I mean, this is randomly. Here we have, we're going to find a way to divide whether we've covered division or not. He knows that there's a strategy here and he's like making his groups and going at it. Typically 40 to 90 minutes is what it takes to complete the reading, the math, and the math assessment. They each take about that amount of time. We never would sit a child down and say, you don't leave that spot until you're done. This is broken into small, digestible parts. So over a period of 2 days, we might work on the reading 3 times. Soon we're done. And then class instruction moves on. If there's an opportunity, student was absent, student is painstakingly taking time, and we do have some of our high achievers. This is a little bit of an anxiety situation. They want to go very slowly, thoroughly. That score is something that is really important. Not that it isn't for all students, but some put a little pressure on themselves, and we continue to address that.
Usually firstborns.
Yep. Then Mr. Weaver, Mr. Kitzler, our principals will pull them, and they'll finish on their own. Yep, definitely firstborn. Okay, and then moving on.
Well, I will say too, what I've noticed, like when you get into that 90 minutes, that might be that 4th grader who's
Yes,
reading
exactly.
10th grade level passages.
Exactly.
And that question looks very different from a
Yes.
4th grader reading 4th grade.
Yes.
And they do have brain breaks embedded too. I don't
They
know if
do.
you're gonna say that,
Yes,
like,
go ahead, yeah.
add stacker, it's like 1 minute,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's just after so many minutes or so many questions, because it's hard to tell when you're a whole big group in front of you, but those are really nice, that they just get to take a
They
little
do have a
break.
little,
Or go through a maze or whatever
yeah,
it
which
is.
Matt never had. So they have a little brain break even into it, and it's we just don't understand the cat stain. So it's cool for this thing, but it's really
It's from the sky, and then you have to stack them as tall as you, I don't get it either, but. Raining cats and dogs.
it's very appealing to our students. So this is an idea again of where is that personalized learning happening. Again, I had one person flag as homework, and this came from a special education teacher. I'm not quite sure, but I'll look into that because typically that is never assigned as homework. But you'll see that the majority of our teachers are providing those minutes, embedding it in their day, what have you. Okay, as part of this informational report tonight, what are concerns? What are some things that are flagging as far as what are our teachers seeing? And so I wanted to be very transparent. This year we had some fifth graders that actually had their browsers open and were throwing out some of those math problems to get solved online, coming back with the answer. So more concerned with browser lockdown even at the elementary level. So we're getting very tech savvy. That's just one thing that, you know, we have to make sure. Over to CTE, like we got some really good people to get lined up for jobs out there. A few teachers expressed, you know, that the diagnostic format, again, it's often hard to find the best assessments for our kindergartners, first graders. We have to take it with a grain of salt that some of those kids at that super young age are clicking, but they're going to get the hang of it sooner or later. And by that January assessment, spring assessment, we're seeing more authentic data from our youngest ones for sure. Curriculum alignment, opinions are divided regarding the platform's effectiveness. While some appreciate the standards-based approach, feeling it is on point, a few feel like, hey, maybe not as aligned. Bridges is a very hands-on problem-solving program, and our student data is looking solid. Sometimes I think they're saying like, but this is a little more of the algorithms and stuff, and they don't get to show what they know in writing out their answer as much. It's you've got to pick one. So, but again, we have to get that answer in some shape or form. Assessment practices. You know, we do have some students who put that pressure on regarding growth goals. As Jason mentioned, we have never looked at teacher data in a method in which, you know, a teacher was non-renewed. I came from a district years ago that used math for performance pay, which was a horrible, horrible idea, because you want to talk about how that transformed into putting pressure on kids, and that is not good. This is not a district that does that. Right. I feel our strongest teachers are teachers who use their data, right, and pivot. You know, that's really good.
And we push in and help. Like, I mean, there's a teacher I helped this year, and I ran a WIN group as well. And then I pushed in during planning time so that I could show her how to best use some of the tools.
Yep. Perfect.
It's more of a support approach.
Yep.
Coach approach.
Coach approach versus punitive one. All right. Knowing that there are concerns bubbling on social media, lawsuit, other things like, well, what's happening in the Elkhorn area? How concerned were our elementary parents? Have they brought anything up to you? 95% of our staff replied like they didn't have any parent concerns raised in regards to this testing platform, anything in the news. One family just said concerns, you know, loss of instructional time to take the assessment. Another family said, you know, they take their results seriously and that's causing unnecessary anxiety. So we have teachers who kind of coach into the families, like it is one data point. And it's not a make or break your child's, you know, educational career here. How do we keep it all in check? But that it just we're using that to guide our, you know, instruction for your child. So, and then I'm just closing with a couple of notes from teachers as far as those that are feeling really positive about the system. Most importantly, though, I want to go to the last slide. We're just gonna give this a minute to light up here. Cindy happened to be over at Westland. She's like, I'm gonna pull in a couple of kids and just find out what do they think of iReady. So Jason, and these are very short.
Do you want to see what it feels like to be in a kindergarten class?
The only one who wants a movement break there is the teacher.
Yeah.
But that's totally had, like, you were serious, no kidding. And I did not cue these children, I literally. I did probably take 10 and a few were just kind of like, but they do really overall kid. I mean, I can really vouch for the fact that I think it's pretty engaging and pretty kid friendly as much as it can be.
And it's
I
only
think-
3 times a year,
Mhm.
right?
It's 3 times a year. And honestly, we've even talked as a staff too at different meetings and how to approach parent questions and things like that. And just how to explain like the amount of instructional practice that you're able to now embed because of the
Yes.
information that you're given.
Yeah.
So there is a cost, right? And a benefit, but I think the benefit is far greater.
The analogy, and I used to train districts and schools on how to use math and use that data. And in fact, I trained Elkhorn when they first adopted before I was over here in Elkhorn. But the analogy I use, it's not that different. I know we have a medical doctor here, is the, doing the teaching, the assessment and the time that you spend on that is really helping us identify what's the prescription needing to be delivered. And when you look at the total amount of time that we spend on, that testing, it pales in comparison to the amount of the treatment that we're providing and giving to the kids. So it helps us narrow that focus. And it is an area that I've seen with my own kids. When we put zero pressure on them at home, I forget, but it's something that, now JJ's the last one, the only one that still does the iReady testing, but Bill, he still gets excited. Hey, we're doing our iReady testing, because he gets excited to see that finish. He gets to see it right when the test is over. Yep, this is how I progressed. This is how I grew. This is where I did meet things. The kids do get ownership.
And teachers really do stress the growth. So even if they grew 7 points and their goal was 15, we really do talk about how to celebrate the 7 that they did grow and that we all grow at a different pace, right? So.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so at the conference that I was at for iReady, last week, they were talking about screen time, right?
Yeah.
And we've been talking a lot about the diagnostic, but there's a second component of iReady, that's the MyPath lessons that connect to what are those gaps that students need to work on, to grow themselves in math and in reading. So one of the things that they talked about at the conference was that like all screen times is not measured the same, right? They talked about, does the screen time amplify or does it pacify our students? And I thought this was a really interesting concept, right? Are we just using it to fill up the time? Are we using it to enhance learning, right? There's a difference between watching SpongeBob SquarePants and watching Wildcrats, right? You're learning something about animals. It's kind of about animals, SpongeBob SquarePants, right? Okay, oh, I did not let my kids watch it. So anyway. Joe at my house. So the point, oh, you're back. The point was is that the question that we should ask ourselves when we're looking at technology in the classroom is, when we're using it, does it provide meaningful insight? Does it connect to teacher-led instruction? Does it make effective use of limited time that teachers have with students, and does it help kids grow? If it's yes to all of these things, then it's something that is beneficial in the classroom and is amplifying. Makes sense. So at the middle school level, same as the elementary level, we test 3 times per year. It does take our students at the middle school level 1 to 2 class periods. We are testing in the classes. We don't like shut down the school and have just like a testing day, if that makes sense. So in the ELA classrooms, they'll test for 1 period in there. Our 2 periods in the math classrooms, same thing. If our kids need more than the 2 periods, they will get that time, but it just won't be during the class time. They'll be taken out of the class time and class will continue going forward. We also have MyPath expectations for middle school students. So once that diagnostic is taken, we do expect them to do 30 minutes of lessons in the reading and the math pathways per week. That time is embedded into their class time. This is not, like Amy said, it's not expected to be done outside of the school day. They might not always be able to get that 30 minutes in a given week.
It just kind of depends on that week, so they would have time during wind time to be able to do it as well. If they can't get it done during the class period, or if they don't use their time wisely. Now, what you might hear is that if students don't meet their 30 minutes, they do get asked to stay in for recess as a lever to get them to be able to do their work. It happens once or twice and then they don't want to do that anymore. iReady does recommend the My Past lessons to be anywhere between 30 and 49 minutes per week per subject. We are at the low end, you'll notice, of that recommendation of 30 minutes. So what do we do with the diagnostic data at the middle school level? Much of the same things that they're doing at the elementary. We sit down and we goal set with all of the students in the math and the ELA classrooms. We're really looking for that growth to be able to happen. You can click on that, Jason, you don't need to, but if you want to dig into what do we do for goal setting, you can see the process that we use for goal setting in the classroom with students. If students meet their growth at the end of the year, they get a "you crushed it" at lunch. And yeah, so we have little incentives that are built in for students to help them stay motivated. The classroom teachers will do celebrations with students along with school-wide celebrations like the Crush. We use the data for math placement. As you know, we have the different levels of math at the middle school level, as well as course placement at the high school for our 8th grade students. So that spring data that Amy was talking about, that winter data is very important for that. We also use the diagnostic data to determine our tier 3 needs at the middle school level, just like we do at the elementary level. So who are those students that have those skills that are below grade level that we need to help grow? Determine our curriculum needs. Is it working what we're doing, or do we need to make some pivots? And then helps us to be able to differentiate instruction. So I want to go into a little bit more detail with what do we use the data for and how do we differentiate the instruction. So in any given classroom, this is a classroom of 23 students, you're going to have a readiness level of different students. The green is like, these kids are ready, they already know this skill. How are we going to stretch these kids, right? The yellow is these kids are close to getting it, but they just need a little bit more additional support. And then your orange and your red are they're going to need a lot more support to be able to understand the skill that you're going to be able to teach them. So what iReady allows us to be able to do is it tells us already where our kids are going to be at before we even teach that skill, so that we can plan for that in the classroom and give those students what they need in their zone. And the awesome part is, you'll notice up here, do you see these little use scaffold E, use scaffold A for the students? They have a lesson prepared at that student's level for that particular skill to help them get to grade level. No other product that we saw had these resources for teachers to be able to use, which saves them a significant amount of time being able to find things that are going to be at the student's level that are in their room. So what we're asking teachers to do, right, is they're teaching grade level instruction, whole group, and then they move into differentiated rotations with students. You'll notice there's only one teacher at one station. So they have to have something else for the students to be able to do that's going to help them grow, but also help them to stay occupied, because they're not going to be there to keep their thumb on them. So this is where those My Path lessons are extremely helpful. Those My Path lessons, you can have students be working on what their gaps are while you're working one-on-one with other students. And then you have them kind of rotate through, like I was saying, in those 10 to 15-minute chunks, if that makes sense. So this kind of just shows that in a little bit more detail. Here's what you would do as a teacher in round 1 of your rotation. Here's the lessons that you would be doing. The other groups would be doing word work or the My Path lessons. And the group that already gets it would be doing the grade level independent practice. And you'd be working with the students who don't get it just yet. They're in that red or that orange area. Helping them to get scaffolded or helping them to get those prerequisite skills so they can get to grade level. And then you rotate those students again. Those yellow students would come in with you. We're not labeling them, by the way, and telling them they're yellow students. We're just grouping students based on skills, and that changes from day to day depending upon those skills. So then your red students would be working on their independent practice now because they've got that scaffold and support. Your yellow students are working with your teacher. They're getting that little bit more support that they might need to get that grade level work. And then your green students are going to be working on word work, My Path, or independent reading. And then you rotate one more time to get through all 3 groups, if that makes sense. You can click it again. Our students at the middle school, this is just a little bit of data for them with the MyPath lessons where we're embedding those into the class and that rotation like I was talking about. Our students at winter time who had not yet met their growth goals, they had on average 414 minutes of MyPath lessons completed. The students who had already met their typical growth had 510 on average. So you can see here how that is one factor playing a role in helping students meet their growth. Over a course of a year, we would expect students, if we ask them to complete 30 minutes of lessons in reading and math for the entire school year, that would be 18 hours. Does that make sense? But we have weeks that are like 2 weeks long or 3 days, or I'm sorry, we have weeks that are 2 days long or 3 days long. So those days we might say to the kids, it's still a wonky week, right? So this is what we had average time on task for the math, MyPath lessons for reading and math. You can see for both grade levels. Questions about that? And then this is just shows our growth data as an entire district, how our students are doing. I don't have detailed data here, but these are all the schools in the district, and you want your data to be in this top right quadrant here, because that means your students are performing with high performance and high growth. So high achievement, high growth. So you can see here in our math area, we're teetering. But almost all the schools are in that area, and then in reading, all of our schools in the district are in that. So just showing you, going back to what they said about are the tools that we're using, meeting all those criteria. Do you want to speak more to that?
No, I was just looking at the X and Y axis.
Oh, yeah.
The achievement is the axis on the bottom, the further to the right, the higher percentile achievement, and the growth is going up on the left.
So, challenges and concerns at the middle school level, you can click. So we did have 3 students who, in their ELA class, chose to write a letter to Mr. Tadlock, in their persuasive unit, to tell him that they do not enjoy the MyPath lessons. They do not enjoy the MyPath lessons because they didn't feel like they were very engaging lessons, and they didn't like that they got held in for recess when they didn't, and lunchtime when they didn't do their homework. So those 3 letters, we read those. There was one family that requested to opt out of MyPath lessons because of the accusations that iReady has had against them and several other companies who have student data of data selling, which they do not. I did.
So MyPath does not sell that.
MyPath does not. They've been accused of it. There's a lawsuit going on right now. Them, as well as IXL, CISA, Renaissance, Google. They're all being sued. For selling student data. They have reassured us that they are not doing that. So that's information on that if you want to read more about it. There was 4 students who opted out of diagnostic testing at the middle school level. So that's all diagnostic testing, forward testing as well. They don't.
Their parents
Onto their students out. Yep. We do have a few teachers that mention every year the amount of testing in the spring for our students at the middle school level, because we talked about how we take that diagnostic in the spring, but then we also have forward testing, and the 8th grade students have 4 subject areas that they take tests on for forward testing as well. So there's concerns with that every year of just test fatigue, to be honest. And then the last thing is the MyPath lessons do not exceed 8th grade standards. So some of our students in middle school and 6th grade will test out of the MyPath lessons. So then we have to come up with some other enrichment activities that we're going to do for them. So, yep, that's a challenge, something that we figured out, but it is a challenge. Good problem is right. Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, as long as we're providing solutions for those kids to.
Yes.
Right, because it looks like what's going, so again, it was what, 4 families, what are you doing with those students who are not participating, testing at that time?
They just,
Whatever.
yep, we have to just, we have to let the families be able to opt out, right,
Absolutely.
because that's their right. And so then we don't have data for those students, so all of those things that we use the data for, we have to go based on other formative data that we have in the classroom. Just makes it more challenging.
And we don't typically have that at the elementary level. We have a few, maybe the special education students that just don't have the ability to sometimes go on for a long length of time and they give it a try. But other than that, they'll take it, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns?
I would just echo, I mean, we've seen the data, you saw the correlation in there from our internal data, the more time that you spend doing the high ready lessons, like the average time on those that hit their growth goals was over 100 hours more than the average time, not 100 hours, was that?
It was less than.
Yeah, the total for,
Yeah.
was it 510 minutes?
Minutes.
It was over 100 minutes more. We saw this with Ingenuity, the product before. Those that did more of those lessons have higher growth. So it's very effective. My only question, and I'm not saying, hey, we should probably have more, but I also know from experience that if the kids did more time in that, because it is drilled into exactly what their needs are, you'll see higher growth rates. We've seen that for years.
We have
know
kids
the
who
data
get really
is-
excited when the teachers have incentives, like 7th grade does a March Madness kind of iReady activity with the students, and they get really into getting their iReady lessons done. And so then all of a sudden those lesson minutes go way, way up. But for the most part, you have students that are pretty much just kind of meeting that 30-minute criteria.
It'll be interesting to have this conversation in a few years after, because we've had it for 2.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what it is after we've had it for 5
Yeah.
and be able to show the growth, like Jack's class, right? To
Yeah.
show his growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started it, that's right.
Yeah,
He started
right.
bigger.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting data to see.
Mhm.
All right. All right. All right.
Thank you. It was really
Yeah, thank you,
thorough
guys.
and
Justin, you win. Thank you.
Yes, he
It wouldn't have been.
I needed that brain break of.
We'll see, usually it's a lot longer, but
Yeah.
Elkhorn does such a good job of bringing the teachers and the students representing their own programs that I don't have to do that. They do it, they celebrate their own successes, so it's really awesome. So I just overview of what we're doing.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we have those minutes.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Tadlock, let's move on to your personnel recommendations.
It is a very lengthy personnel sheet as we went through the attrition process and the hiring season began, and we are pretty close to fully staffed. There's a handful of positions that are out there, but this is our personnel sheet. Are there any questions on any of these positions? Otherwise, I want to give a group thank you to everybody who did provide service to the school district. We have a handful of resignations at the top, and then a huge welcome to all those that are coming in and or transfers.
So on the TBDs, are we currently interviewing people in those positions and just haven't made the decision yet, or?
We don't have a lot of applicants yet for our special education teachers. There's a couple.
Yes.
We need 2 for West Side in particular, and
Yep.
Tammy needs 1 for Jackson.
Okay.
We are going to put that back out there. We had asked Jody, I talked with Ryan and asked him to put that out there. It's just elementary maybe to spark more interest. We're gonna also put it on Facebook too. We just only have had a few.
We knew that we were having interviews, but so Jody put it as the placeholder,
Sure.
but that's where we didn't get it filled before today.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And then we did have, is the music teacher on here?
I do not see.
We have the,
Yeah.
the tenure of 0 days by the music teacher that we hired.
Okay, so we hired somebody.
We hired
and
someone.
They
Resigned right away.
observed, they were all in, and then 10 they were not.
That's the first time that's happened.
No.
Yeah.
Okay,
It has happened before.
Yes.
And at least they didn't come in for like a week or two and then leave.
Right.
We have that too.
That's our question.
We prefer to know now. It's good.
Yes.
So we're hoping, but that'll be another one.
Oh, sorry, I
We did
clicked off that
lose,
sheet.
we did lose our German teacher to,
We went to receive.
is it because, it's closer to where he
He lives in
lives?
the area.
His,
Okay.
his mother is in that area.
Got it.
And she's aging and
Yeah.
needs more assistance.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't losing somebody because they were getting paid tons of more money.
I don't know if he got more money or not.
He did, maybe he didn't, but if the.
No, our salary structure and restructuring, the feedback that I've heard from other area superintendents, that we've had several hires that were also offered jobs in other areas, but the new salary structure put us where we needed to be.
Okay,
No, good.
So, yeah,
And we
so we're still being able to hire the
Yeah.
people that we
we're
want.
not having the issues that we had last year.
Got it.
Yeah, so that adjustment has helped. Like
Okay.
last year, we had several positions with, yes, where we couldn't get the top cat. We
Got it.
haven't had that. this year.
Okay, good.
To my knowledge, right? We
No,
haven't-
you're not.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful.
We haven't lost a single top candidate. in
Awesome.
December.
We've
Yeah.
stolen them. It's been great.
Ooh, that's good to hear. Okay, good.
Well, we need some sort of leverage. For that. So thank you for that, because that's been very wonderful.
Okay, any more questions, comments, concerns regarding personnel? If not, looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for June 22nd, 2026, including new employment contracts conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for June 22nd, 2026, including new employment contracts conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. No gifts to accept today, so we'll keep it moving. The second reading of the 2026-2027 preliminary district budget.
It's been updated to reflect the change to maintenance.
Mhm.
Other than that, it didn't add a significant change to like levy or anything. And since I submitted it, numbers have already changed where
Yeah.
some grant information came about that is a
Oh,
thumbs up, and our Act 20 monies came in from the state, and that was unexpected. So all of a sudden,
Okay.
a whole chunk of money in the positive, thumbs up, came our way. So
Awesome.
that's better than where I was
Yeah.
last week.
Great.
Cool. And the other update that I didn't want to, our sub meals cost us $150.
Oh my gosh.
A handful.
At least 30.
Come out there and really enjoy it.
That's high school, but it's not gonna be something significant.
We can publicize that. All right.
We have a whole process for them getting that.
Okay.
Yes.
For those wondering online, we added the benefit of anyone wanting to sub, you now get a free for short lunch. Short-term sub. All right. Yes,
So,
all right.
any budgetary questions other than that we didn't cover last week, 2 weeks ago?
Okay. Nothing else, looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the 2026-2027 preliminary district budget as presented.
Second.
A second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve the 2026-2027 preliminary district budget as modified.
No, this is,
This was
Okay.
as presented.
As moved and seconded to approve the 2026-2027 preliminary district budget as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay.
we have any.
Now, look, we have any nothing?
We do not have any announcements other than we have a closed session. And we will have some updates. I guess I'll share. We'll have some updates on our successful trips to DC, and our students came back from China as well. And
Oh, yes.
got great experience and some interesting experiences, so. We'll get those scheduled on the noggin.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, we had, anybody listening, we had some awesome feedback. There was a really nice letter that was written about some of our students. We plan to celebrate them in a positive way at the next school board meeting. It was a really neat letter from a random guy that sat next to the kids. I just thought that was fantastic.
Great.
Yeah, they were on the airplane, 2 students sitting next to some random guy from Madison. And they just chatted them up, no cell phones, no electronics, and the guy took his time to send us an email saying what a great group of kids.
Nice.
So it's really, really cool.
And I'll just add the trip in China, and we'll let Des Reese and the team talk more about it, but we were surprised in finding out that we have a new sister school in Binbao, China. They did a whole great big celebration with 1,000 students with yellow and purple lights. So they walked them out on stage with a great big scroll sign. So I might get fired, or I don't know if I'm off, but that's just going about China now, and yeah. So really a great story for you to hear. News media coverage. Everybody was there with the cameras and everything filming. So yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Really step up our game here when they.
We have a short closed session. We need a motion.
Yeah, looking for a motion to adjourn to closed.
Make a motion to adjourn to contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parent 1, parent F, to discuss the personal history of an individual. School board will not reconvene in open session.
I'll second.
Moving and seconded to adjourn to contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, para 1, para F, to discuss the personal history of an individual. School board will not reconvene in open session. Roll call, right? Yeah, roll
Oh,
call.
yes. Mr. Andre.
Yeah.
Eric Gordon.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Griffiths.
Yeah.
Mr. Scarrow's excused. Mrs. Vaughn.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank you, everybody.
And 9 to 5.